Hey everyone, welcome to Absolute Comics right here with Benny and Sal. I run Comic Story and he runs Comic Pop, and we talk about comics all day, so we thought about talking about it weekly together. Can't get enough comics in our lives.
That's true.
This show is brought to you by G Fuel. If you use the code COMICS at checkout, you can get 10 to 30% off depending on when you're watching this episode. At the time, as of Thursday this week, it will be 30% off, but right now it's 10% off if you're watching live. But just go try the code. Just go get some G Fuel. Go and punch it in. Keep the show alive, guys. You want to keep us here? We want to be here. All right, so let's go down this list of topics out because we have a special guest popping in today.
That's right.
A special guest. Who's the guest?
Very special.
Because I've been talking too much.
Oh, well, that special guest is, of course, Uber creator Scott Snyder, who's going to be talking to us about his indie project Noctera and so much more. I'm excited to have him back.
Yep. So we're going to go through a couple of the news topics first.
Let's do it.
First up, Donny Cates' run on Venom has come to an end, which is funny because I think it technically ended at King in Black, but he spent 3 months writing this issue 300 epilogue.
Yep. Yeah, because I saw the thing. I'm like, when is this last issue coming out? Like, is it not out yet?
No.
And then I see it's on. No, it's not. Fine.
I'm hoping it's big. He will do the next era of Hulk, which also means Immortal Hulk is coming to an end at 50.
Yeah.
And artist Ryan Otley is going to be on it.
Yeah, interesting choice, and exciting. I think.
I'm excited to see how he's going to draw Hulk.
Yeah. There's a couple of preview images out, and they're looking pretty good. So no complaints here.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, I think Al Ewing's taking over for Venom. So literally, Al Ewing and Donny Cates are just switching seats.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
So
is Donny Cates staying on Thor?
That I don't know. I assume he is because I don't think he's done yet. But
if he left now, it'd be weird because a lot of his plot threads are just there at the moment. With King Thor and everything like that. So.
Exactly. There's a lot going on. So he's got to wrap it all up.
Okay, good. Because I'm really. This is the first time since Jason Aaron's run on Thor that I'm really into Thor again.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So next up, we have Bad Idea Comics announces that they'll be closing at the end of the year.
Yep.
So fun fact, we got the guy who runs that to tell us that's not real, and now it's being spread across the news networks that this isn't a closing. So
yeah, I saw on Twitter, Dinesh made a tweet where he's like, hey, issued a statement from the company. Bad Idea is closing its doors, blah, blah, blah. Now, that sounded very convincing, and I was really bummed out to hear that. And then I remembered our conversation with Dinesh like 3 weeks prior.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no. And I remember that being just a coordinated strike. It's a plan for them. But and by the way, very interesting. It's an interesting strategy. We talked all about it. You can check out that episode. But yeah.
What I find to be the funniest about it, though, is that then they grabbed our interview where he admitted all that 3 weeks ago, and it's been getting published around. Does that make us the tastemakers, Sal?
Oh, yeah, I think we are. I'll take the title tastemaker.
We are the tastemakers of comic books.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there in the comics world that are like, no!
You are not.
Oh, no! They can't be the tastemakers because I'm the taste taker.
Also, my curiosity, who from Bleeding Cool watches us? Rich, if it's you, I'm a fan. We should meet up if cons ever actually happen again.
Yeah, Rich, if you're coming to New York, we'll get drinks, hang out.
Yeah, I would love to chat with you, actually. Sit down and chat if it's you. And I don't know who else it could be. So
I will say, we did
as
meet
far as
Rich
I know,
Johnson
Rich
time.
is Bleeding Cool. So
yes, that is correct. we met Rich Johnson one time, and it was at a Valiant party with Dinesh.
Oh,
he was there for that. Yes, we did. We were
the first 3 years of Comic Historian are such a blur.
It's like, which con was this? Because there are people, including my wife, who are convinced that I was with you and Rob at C2E2 on that panel. And I'm like, I was not in Chicago. I've never been to Chicago. But I'm like, you thought I was there. Rob thought I was there. And Tiffany was like, yeah, you went to Chicago with Rob Benny. I'm like, I did not go to Chicago.
It's all a blur. It really is.
It is.
The most embarrassing part about the blur is larger guy, I'm not going to say, you know what I mean? Like, large guy is kind of like a staple of these industries and gaming industries. And I mixed up a Twitch partner, like manager, and the Skybound guy who handles influencers. And it was so embarrassing because I got invited to the party, went to the party, chatted with him, but I was like blitzing through trying to go to another meeting. And I showed up and I had no idea who he was.
Right.
And I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, Twitch, we did this, we did that. And he's like, no, I'm the Skybound guy. And I'm like, oh. Shit.
Cool. Well, I can definitely still talk to you, but
yeah, exactly. Right. I remember.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. 5 years ago was a hell of a time. We were doing really well back then.
Yeah, not so much anymore. No. It's cool. We had our time, Sal. We had our time. Let us have a moment of silence for when we were popular. All right, moving on.
Yes. Black Panther 2.
What? No, what? All right, next. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's the next topic. I just thought I said a moment of silence, and then you said Black Panther 2, and that's what I was
I was like, oh, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. Like,
yeah, I was like, why is that randomly getting brought up?
That's sad. That's very sad. But no, apparently Black Panther 2 is rumored to have cast Tenoch Huerta as Namor, rumored to be the main villain of the movie. This, of course, is confirmed by literally nobody. It was originally brought up by a website that is known for making shit up. So it makes me crazy when this is news.
Everyone's freaking out about the color of this individual. I can't pronounce his name, and I'm not going to... Tenoch?
I said Tenoch.
I have no idea. White like Namor. And I will admit, even I, to an X-Men friend, a private conversation was like... I mean, they could probably make this work easily, but my assumption is Namor has got to be pretty white. I mean, isn't he like at the bottom of the ocean? Shouldn't he be practically translucent? That was my statement. Like,
right.
I'm gonna watch this, and I'm sure the MCU will make this work. I'm not even gonna try and argue that. But I then was lambasted for 20 minutes of the origins of Namor.
Yes, Namor fans will take every opportunity to tell you everything about Namor and why he's the coolest.
He is not a true Atlantean. He was born on an island to a sea ship or boat or whatever you want to call him. To his father, Leonard. Dan. This is a reference to an old comic historian video.
I appreciate the reference.
Nice.
Log, for those who don't know, one of the first videos Dan edited was the origins of Namor, which I completely forgot when I was having this discussion with my friend. And the only reason I remembered the origin being accurate and said, all right, man, you're right. You're 100% right. He can be whatever skin color you want because you just got to say where the boat came from.
Right.
Boom. Problem solved. But he said that the name of the dad was Leonard. And I got remembered back to one of Dan's first videos. I mispronounced Leonard. I said Leonard in the video. And Dan came at me and he's like, you got to fix it, man. Everyone's going to know you mispronounced it. They're all going to know you mispronounced it. And I remember going, it's Namor's dad. No one will care. And no one cared. And to this day, I don't think, other than comments from people who have seen the podcast where we've talked about this.
Yes.
But now every time I see the name Leonard, I think Leonard.
Good old Leonard.
Leonard.
Yeah. No, I've never had an issue with recasting Namor or casting Namor with a person of color. My choice, and he's too old now and he's been too many characters in different franchises, including the MCU, but Djimon Hounsou would have been my choice. He played, he was a Kree. He's the guy who's like, Star-Lord who?
I've never been against, and I know people like to use the term forced diversity. I don't even think it's that. People don't realize that when a lot of these superheroes are created, the only people that wrote them were white people. So it makes sense to me that we're kind of like updating the roster with people of color and, different genders and things like that. Because when your entire roster is written by a bunch of white males who are writing characters, that's what they all become. Yeah. So I'm not against a lot of it. So the discussion with my friend was just a fun little
yeah.
Because my joke was, shouldn't he be translucent? If you're at the bottom of the ocean, he should have the whitest skin known to mankind. Only to be corrected, he is not from the bottom of the ocean. So
right. Yeah. No, I don't even know who this actor is. I've never seen him in anything, but I also couldn't care less. I do like Namor, and I think he'd be a fun inclusion in this universe, and it's about time. I think it's a great opportunity, to use Black Panther 2 as an opportunity to throw him in there. But whatever. If it's real and if it's true, which it hasn't been validated by anybody, but who knows? Sounds good. Whatever.
Well, and I'm honestly tired of these casting rumors.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately. And maybe it's burnout from the whole Spider-Man thing of everyone and their brother being rumored to be in that goddamn movie.
Yes.
I'm just so tired of them being like, this random guy says he was cast as Namor.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. I just don't.
No.
If someone, if the actual Black Panther 2 director or Disney, they're like, hey, we cast Tenoch Herrera, I'm just going to say Tenoch.
Yeah.
As Namor.
Ladies and gentlemen, here
when
he
Namor is in the movie, I'm on board.
Yes.
But I'm so tired of all of these rumors and it's the same thing that annoys me when they're like, such and such would love to come back to play this role again. I'm sure they would. You know what? Sal and I would love to be Batman and Robin and fight over who's Batman.
Seriously. No, yeah. Like, I'll take it even a step diminished. It's like local YouTube boobs, Benny and Sal, say they would love to be in an MCU movie. Yeah. No shit.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I always find all these things just...
Yeah, like I saw, what was it? John Krasinski said something like, I would love to play Reed Richards. I'm like, no kidding. Would you love to have a franchise?
He actually came out and said he doesn't want to be it.
He doesn't?
Stop these rumors. I'm not cast as it, and I don't want to do it.
Oh, because I thought it was, because I know Emily Blunt was like, I hate superhero movies. And I'm like, oh, okay, because you were Black Widow for a second. But... Yeah, but I thought that John Krasinski had said, yeah, no, I'd be Reed Richards. And it's like, oh, God, you just get to start it all over again. But, no, I'll take either one. I mean, like, I don't care. Go ahead. Like, John Krasinski can either say no or yes, and I'm not listening either way. Like, I don't care.
And that's just it. When the movie's made and there's a trailer, then we can talk. Then we can talk about it.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're just going to get us mentioning it on a news show because technically, I guess this is news, and we're always going to bitch about it. So
yeah, that's the thing is that like they're counting on us talking about it being like, ladies and gentlemen, here's the website, here's the link, and guess what? These guys made up this thing about this actor who's going to be Namor. Whoa! And we're actually saying like, hey, doing this sucks, and don't do that.
Yeah. Well, no, you're right. The amount of people,
you're welcome.
The amount of websites that build their bones of making fake rumors so that they get spread around and it comes back to the source.
Yeah.
You know what? If this comes out, I will say who did it and be like, yo, they got it. It's this website.
Right. Yeah, like who'd have thought? Normally I don't care or remember who cracked the story, and that's because it doesn't really matter at all. And I don't like perpetuating the like need to crack a story, especially one that isn't a story like this random actor I've never heard of is going to play a character that I don't have too much affinity for in a movie that he would not normally be in.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So
here we go.
Next up, we got Loki director Kate Herron says that they are not basing the Loki story on anything you have seen or heard.
Sure.
From someone who's trying to find Loki stories to cover on his channel right now, I can tell you right now, they don't exist. That's why there's nothing. There's like 5-issue miniseries here and there.
Yes.
Vote Loki, I'm going to cover it. It was 5 issues. Female Loki that everyone likes to talk about, she's not in a comic, Sal. She got a mention in something else. Loki stole Sif's body for Siege, and
she's in Siege.
But she's not actually. It's like, there she is, and goodbye.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, Quapel drew female Loki in a major Marvel event. I don't need to go any further than that. I agree. But like,
the Loki stories is fighting Thor, and if you're making something solely about Loki, you don't got anything.
Yeah, I do still think that it is going to be about Loki trying to find, like, the one Loki in the multiverse that is truly good or truly honorable or something like that.
Well,
like in Infinity
and
Wars.
that's a good plot, but it's not an existing plot.
It's not a Loki comic. Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, what? This means that it's not going to be adapted from Age of Ultron to Civil War like Dan wrote in the notes here.
Right.
No. And because there's like, unless you were doing the Vote Loki storyline or Loki Agent of Asgard, there's nothing else that doesn't have Thor.
Nope.
And even those have Thor.
Yes, like the Rod Rhodey series, which was 4 issues from like 2004. The one called Loki. Yeah, Thor's in it. And then when they reprinted it, they changed the name to Thor and Loki Blood Brothers.
Yeah,
they moved him. Reprint? Yeah, they moved him down the marquee. The book was originally just called Loki, and then when they reprinted it, there's no. Thor and Loki. I'm like, Thor is in 3 pages of this book. But yeah.
So,
good for them.
I'm not surprised by this at all, and I'm glad they're just saying it so that nobody's sitting around going, House of M!
Yeah. I mean, the fact is,
Nick Spencer's Falcon run that went nowhere.
Yeah. Comic book Loki isn't nearly as cool or popular or exciting as movie Loki. Like, Tom Hiddleston made Loki worth a damn.
No, Donny Cates' run right now is doing a great job
in
of
the Thor
fixing
book.
Loki.
I'm just saying, but by and large, if you're reading a Loki book, or if you've read Loki over the past 70 years, he hasn't been nearly as interesting or exciting as Tom Hiddleston's portrayal, which has become...
He's a failed villain. That's all he's been.
Yeah. Because that's
It's
all.
like,
I mean,
it's like the Doctor Doom fans. They're like, Doctor Doom is the greatest villain to ever walk, and I'm just like, really? Because normally Reed Richards beats him with like his like one hand tied behind his back.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, sometimes he loses. Sometimes Doom wins, but even then, it's like a moral victory or something. Like,
it's not, and that's I don't know. It's
you know what it is. You know why everybody loves. No, I'm not gonna get into it.
no, what?
I was gonna say, you know why everybody loves Doom? Because even when Doom loses, he says he wins, and that's what people who like Doom do anyway. Where it's like, Doom's like, there we go, hurrah, and they're like, you lost, we literally beat you, and he's like, no you didn't, that was a robot. And that's like the argument that everybody has when they make that argument themselves. They're like, I won the argument. You started crying and you spat at me. Nope, I won the argument. That's the fandom equivalent of a superhero.
That reminds me, just a story I had. So I haven't told this story anywhere. It only happened like 2 weeks ago. But it's literally that. So we have our Discord. Anyone's welcome to come in. You're welcome to throw out your theories or whatever like that. Okay.
Yeah.
This fan shows up and he has a theory that Hickman was writing Dawn of X all the way back at Secret Wars, and he throws it out and he tagged me and he wanted to, and I'm like, it's a pretty sound theory because at the time there was rumors that they were going to be rebooting the Marvel Universe.
Yes. We've
spoken to people who said they had to have 2 pitches for it.
Yep.
So it would make sense that Hickman's pitch for X-Men was, I want to reboot them. And if you look at the way Krakoa and everything is, it would have made sense as a separate reboot to the X-Men.
Totally.
This fan then freaked out because he wanted proof that the reboot was going to happen.
Oh, God.
And he wanted to argue with me. And I just told him, like, look, man, you can get whatever proof. Because he kept like pulling up, well, this interview, this guy said this. And this interview, this guy said this. Mm-hmm. And he was just freaking out in the Twitter, pinging me nonstop, trying to prove me wrong. And all I said was, I'm not going to argue. I don't care.
Right.
You know, the events from 7 years ago, believe me or not, I've spoken to writers. I know what I've been told.
Yeah.
And he would come back again and he'd just be like, no. You don't understand. They wouldn't have told you that. NDAs like you said are a thing. But in interviews, Cullen Bunn said this. And in interviews, they said this. And I'm like, look, whatever. I've spoken to the writers. This is what they said.
Yeah.
True or not, at least that's what I've been told by the writer. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't care. But because they told me this, I assumed that a reboot was probably going to happen back then, or at least was being considered. It got thrown out. That's the end of the discussion. I don't care. I'm not arguing.
Right. No.
This isn't important.
No, and it's not like throwing your... My evidence outranks yours. Mine came from the source. Yours came from an article. Listen.
Right, and he asked for proof, and I was like, I don't have proof, and I don't care to prove it because I'm not trying to argue with you.
Because I'm not a lunatic. I don't record every conversation I have with people that are talking to me in confidence.
Yeah. And so so he goes back and forth for a little while, and I just kind of ended it with like, look, I don't care, man. As far as I'm concerned, you're wrong. I'm not here to fight.
Right.
Like I was told the reboot was going to happen. I was told that they had multiple pitches, and that's the end of it. That's the end of this discussion. Right. I don't care. And I went on and did other things.
You moved on with your life.
And I didn't even think about it again.
No.
The next day I get pinged again by this guy. Who says that he tweeted out one of the, I think, CBR, and they said that they had no evidence of a reboot ever happening.
So you're wrong because...
Right, and that's what you're wrong because CBR said that they never heard about it. And I just told them, once again, not here to fight. I know what I was told. I'm basing my information on that.
Yep.
End of discussion. And the guy wants to fight, and the guy wants to fight, and the guy wants to fight. And I just keep telling him, I don't care. I'm not fighting. You're not going to convince me. You know what I mean? Like, and I threw out words like, you're wrong. As far as I'm concerned, you're wrong. I'm done with this. And then he would ping me again. So eventually he does the thing where he just like throws out like, well, this is why you're wrong and blah, 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 and then leaves the server.
Right. Of course.
Right. Last word thing. And I am very petty. I've said that before.
Oh, no.
So I go to Twitter.
So I made him an admin on the server. No.
Well, because he linked his Twitter earlier to show that he tweeted this company. So I go to his Twitter, and I'm talking in our Discord chat, and I'm like, how funny would it be if I just tweeted him right now, like, leaving the Discord server does not make you right. You're still wrong.
Oh, my God.
Just a simple, fun little poke at the guy.
Oh, yeah. They always look at it like that.
So I pull up his Twitter, right? I pull up his Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that since our discussion the day before, he has tweeted every
God.
Marvel writer who ever talks on Twitter trying to get
God.
evidence of this reboot. And not a single one of them have responded.
Of course not.
Up until he got to, I think it was CBR, and
Yep.
that guy responded.
Yeah, what a shock. But yeah, no. By the way, where's that CBR clickbait article where it's like, lunatic calls out comic story and harasses literally every single creator in the Marvel bullpen?
So I literally go to my chat and I'm like, guys, I'm not going to tweet him. This obviously meant a lot more to this guy. And unless he tweets me, I'm leaving this one alone.
Right.
Like, I'm just going to go back to playing my video games and just ignoring that this even happened. And we were talking about it on Twitter. And so the next morning I woke up and I was just curious. I was curious, Al. Because he was still saved in my searches. I'm like, I'll just look the guy up, see if he started ranting. Comic story's full of shit and blah, blah, blah. So that I have my little tweet about leaving doesn't make you the winner, right?
Right.
He deleted his Twitter.
What? Now here's the question: why? Did he get confirmation? Did someone did one of the people we've talked to go like, actually, that's true? And he's like, oh, I am unmade. He unraveled before.
I don't know because I said how he seemed like he cared a lot more about it. I was like, maybe he made an account and saw what I said,
right?
And was like, oh man, I don't want to look that petty. But no new users joined after he left. So it's not like
God.
I don't know why he deleted it.
That's delightful. That's the best.
And my favorite was in all the tweets. He said, me and my friend were arguing about things. And I'm like, I wasn't
Boy,
arguing.
your friend must hate you.
Yeah, I wasn't arguing about anything. I literally just said, I'm not going to argue.
Right.
Like, here's my evidence. Take it for what you want. I don't care if you believe it. This thing is 7 years ago. Like,
right. Yeah.
And it would back up your own theory. So why are you even arguing with me?
Yeah. No. Ugh.
So
comic books.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we got Scott Snyder's waiting. He's hitting me up, so let's just go through these last two real quick so we can move into that. Shazam director says that Black Adam will not be appearing in the Shazam 2 sequel or whatever because he's in his own movie. They want to build their own world around Black Adam.
Oh, great idea.
Because they got The Rock.
Yeah, good call. Good luck.
Yeah, Shazam 3 better have the fight, I guess. I don't know.
But why would they fight when he's who cares? All right, fine. Good luck.
Yeah.
Hope it works out.
I mean, they can still make it good, but still. Like,
yeah, maybe.
What? Anyway, and apparently they're also doing a DC League of Super Pets animated film, and they've cast The Rock as Crypto the Superdog.
Okay.
And Kevin Hart as Ace the Bat Hound. And now I think I have discovered my favorite movie of 2022.
I got to tell you, I have a quick theory about this. I theorize this movie never existed before, like, the year of COVID. And during COVID, like, The Rock was looking at his contract, and he's like, you promised that I'd be in a DC movie by 2021, and I haven't been, and you're gonna be in breach of that contract pretty soon. It's like, oh crap, let's fast track an animated movie. We'll put him in that, and then we'll do the Shazam Black Adam movie, okay? Here we go. I mean, honestly, I don't think that's true, but I'm just saying, like, it just seems like, well, we have The Rock, and why don't you play Crypto? That'd be fun.
Anything The Rock's in, I'm already going to watch.
I know.
Anything Kevin Hart is in, I'm already going to watch.
That's hilarious.
Anything you put the two of them in, I am going to watch multiple times.
Yes. This is a great idea.
Amazing together.
This is a great idea. I love this idea of making DC League of Super Pets. Like, I think it's a fun concept. I think it's a brilliant strategy for them. And so I say I'm all for it, but where the hell is Streaky the Super Cat? And I better see Beppo the Super Monkey.
Well, I mean, it might be Vanessa Bayer, Streaky the Super Cat, or Natasha Loyan, or John Krasinski. They're all also cast.
They are, yeah. It's a star-studded cast. So sounds good. I mean, like, cool. I'm not excited, but like I'm pleasantly surprised to see this movie exists, much less has animation in it already. Like, it's there. So it sounds great. Good call.
I just love that it's Crypto the Superdog and Ace the Bat Hound.
I know. Well, that's yes. I mean, that makes the most sense. Oh, and Kanga.
Keanu Reeves is
better
in
be
it.
in this.
I hope that he's Bat Cow.
Yes. And he only says moo. He doesn't actually say a word. It's like
it'd be like the Vin Diesel thing with Groot.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're going to close out the news portion of our show, guys, but don't leave if you're watching live and don't leave if you're watching on YouTube because we are going to jump into a discussion with Scott Snyder about comic books today and his book, Nocterra.
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 I'm super excited. Yeah, we have issue 4 is out this week. Issue 5, it's about to sell out. It looks like FOC is Monday for 5, which means FOC for newbies is final orders. That means if you don't order it by Monday, you have to take your chances getting it at the store. And if it sells out like the other ones have, you have to wait a week or two to get it. So if you can order it now, it helps all of us out. We got a bunch of really cool covers, 2 by Tony, 1 by Carrie Knorr, 1 by my brother, Francesco Francavilla. Lots of cool stuff. So, and 5 is a really big issue for us where it opens up a lot of stories. So
I'm excited about that because that's actually one of the questions I wanted to ask you. I'm loving what you're doing with Nocterra at this point. I love the world for it, the building, everything that's going on. But up until now, it does feel like it's one story.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, like, where's it going to go afterwards? And I'm like, he might end it at 6. I don't know what he's planning. It could be just a one and done. He could be doing more with it. It could go either way.
4 into 5 really changes the whole game. I mean, the way I kind of pitched it was almost like, there's no bigger fan of like The Walking Dead than me. I love it back to front. But I almost pitched it as like an inversion of that format, like an anti-Walking Dead, in the way that I didn't want it to feel like a world that you were exploring that was a status. I wanted it to feel like every arc is a status. And then at the end of that arc, you learn more about the darkness, and it gets even worse. Like it evolves in its level of danger, in its level of like mutation, everything. So for anyone that hasn't read Nocterra yet, it's about this darkness that envelops the earth. Sunlight stops hitting the planet, and the darkness actually changes every living thing into a monster if it doesn't stay lit. So if you don't have lights on you in some way or other, you start to change into these things called shades, and they're these, horrible monsters that kill everybody. And by the end of arc 1, not to spoil too much, or into this issue, at the end of 4 that's out right now, something happens that really changes the game, where they find something that makes them start to understand the nature of the darkness. And then in 5, the people that they meet that are part of this kind of reveal in 4 explain a lot more of our mythology in the way that what I really am getting at with the series is I want it to feel like badass fun Saturday morning cartoons, but R-rated, just big over the top bombastic fun. As the first thing we were doing with Best Jacket, I didn't want to I'm doing another book right now. I'm working on a historical fiction one that it's all about barnstormers, and it's with an artist, I think people will be excited but surprised to see me working with, and all kinds of stuff that are kind of new challenges. This one I didn't want it to be a new challenge. I wanted it to be like everything you come to expect from me and Tony Daniel, but amped up on steroids, like boom, and have it be fun. Something that my 14-year-old self and son would both really enjoy, as well as myself now. So the point of the book is really about these young people in this world discovering, at first wanting to bring the sun back, trying to figure out a way of piercing this veil of darkness so that sunlight comes back to the earth. And then realizing that instead, the only way through is to take a greater risk and bring a different kind of light here altogether and see if they can find something better than what existed before. So it has this kind of personal and allegorical aspect to it that is written for my kids, where I want them to not just kind of, follow our example or try and keep the world from falling apart. I want them to dream bigger and try and take the risks to be better than we are. And so at the end of the first arc, they realize that the darkness itself is responsible for the lack of life all over the universe in different ways, and that what it does to these planets and what it does to the dominant species on each planet, turning them into these really particular kinds of shades that can communicate with each other. And our letter came up with this really cool, Darren, he's an old friend, came up with this really cool way of doing their black balloons with these almost scratch effects inside that look like this frequency. It's really cool. Anyway, they speak to each other and they have a plan, and that plan is connected to sort of the core of the universe, this darkness that exists there in this black hole. And so the mythology gets bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually it's kind of going to be like, truckers versus monsters versus serial killers and Cthulhu things. So it's just out of control, big blockbuster stuff.
Yeah, because as I was reading through 1 through 3, because I was rereading 1 to catch up, and then I was kind of catching up to the current stuff. You had them stopping at they're not called truck stops. They even say why they don't call them truck stops. They're charge stations. That was it. Yeah. They have them stop at these charge stations, and it's like we don't know where they came from, and I'm like, it's it could be very cool world building. This could be a lot of things to dive into, or maybe he's just doing the fun mystery of like, here's what it could be. We're not going to find out. We just want to tell the main story right now. And so I had a lot of people who we've turned on to watching, or not watching, but reading Noctera. And they were asking me like, where do you think this is going to go? And that's what I was like, this could be like, I Hate Fairyland, where it's like a good one and done kind of thing. Or he might have a whole plan like Walking Dead. I don't know what he wants to do with this.
It's in between. So if you think about it like this, and I'm probably giving too much away, but I have Tony, Tony and I are really committed to doing 3 arcs together, and then we have interstitial issues with artists. We're bringing in, I haven't announced it yet, but Dennis Callan's coming in to do a special issue. Really excited with Kent Williams. We're going to bring in a couple other people as well, but I'm hoping we can get Dennis to do a couple things, because he does the origin of Blacktop Bill, and then that's a special issue we're doing in October, and then in September, and then he's coming. I think hopefully he'll come back. But the idea is that we're committed to at least those 18 big issues together. So 3 big arcs. And then in between, my hope, if the series is doing well, we can do these in between issues, maybe even in between arcs that fill out the world. So I sort of built it so that we can afford for the Kickstarter and that stuff, like a core series that will go, beginning to end. And then depending on, how many people pick it up and how it's doing, we'll build in and build out. And, if it's doing great and everyone loves it, maybe Tony will do we'll stretch it out and do the last part as a double size, who knows. But we have at least that much, so it's not a one and done, but it's also not going to be something like The Walking Dead that goes like 100 issues. I don't think. I feel like it'll plus, I think it'll probably land somewhere between like about 30 issues, so a good 3 year, between 30 and 40 issues. So I'd say a good 3 year run.
Okay,
sweet.
Yeah, so it's worth investing in for that, because there is a big mythology and world and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm really enjoying it right now. I'm really interested in Blacktop Bill. Like, just the very little you've revealed to us so far, I'm just like, I want to know what the story is here, because like we know so little and it seems so fascinating.
Oh, I love him. He's one of those characters like Batman Who Laughs, who's just fun to write because there's no sympathy in him. And deep down, he was a trucker before, and he was but you learn like I said, in issue 7, we have a special issue where you get the first half of his origin up until he's kind of bonded to this stuff. And you learn who he was back in the light. And he has that kind of hints of that, like the Iceman on those HBO specials, where that sociopath who kind of worked on and off for the mob and killed people, but for them. And he considers that kind of work. He's hired to take out other, he works for this one crime family and takes out these other families' hitmen. So he's like a killer of other killers. But then he does I won't give it away, but he does some really bad stuff for his passion that he also has like a kill for pleasure thing that he does that's really dark in terms of his philosophy about how he deeply believes that, what makes us special is our propensity for evil, as opposed to our propensity for good. And that's what makes us divine. And so as we get closer into arc 2 and arc 3, he starts to really relate to the shades and the darkness. And the fact that he's bonded to this stuff means they can't really detect him unless he cuts himself, that kind of thing. They can't really see him. So he starts to feel this bond with them and their purpose and that stuff. So he changes quite a bit throughout the whole thing, but not in a getting better. He only gets worse.
Right. Okay. So it's just like the Batman Who Laughs, as he gets progressively worse as it goes on. Where you're just
progressively worse.
What? No.
yeah.
Progressively more ambitiously evil. So
right. Yeah. The only thing is
his introduction was pretty awesome. So I don't know, like, to go more evil from that already. He's got a guy tied to his hood just to turn. I mean,
yeah. And he does it too. You see, the next issue is really cold what he does to him. So he's fun. I like writing it. I know there's always like the wisdom that you're supposed to write villains that are sympathetic, and I do enjoy that now and then, but I really like villains that are absolutely unsympathetic too. I mean, there's something about coming face to face with someone who just, a total predator, and they're like an apex predator character, and they exist. So it's spooky to see someone that embraces that horrifying aspect of human nature.
Yeah, that plays into your previously established childhood fear of the dark and the unknown, and how it's like, as a parent, you tell your kids like, your imagination gets the best of you. There's nothing under the bed. There's nothing in the closet. There's really like no reason to be afraid of the darkness. And yet, there is a reason to be afraid, and for something to actually literally come out of the darkness and be a monster is kind of, it plays into that fear, and it plays into that like that spooky nature of the series. Because
Exactly.
I also like the unsympathetic villain, because one of our members of our chat even says, I'm getting tired of these sympathetic villains. And that's true. I feel like everything we watch or write or see or anything, it's always like, all right, the villain's so evil, but do you know his childhood?
Right.
Like,
where's their origin movie? Where it's like we can make them sympathetic, and we can spin them into an anti-hero, which is
sometimes I just want a villain. He's just evil. That's it.
The whole origin story was so fun to write with this one. It just keeps it's not funny, but it has a slightly kind of like evil humor to the opening, where they're narrating it. Actually, it's in the issue that's out right now. The woman who's like the den mother for all the truckers in this world, her name's Bellwether, and she's trying to find out who Blacktop Bill is. So she's calling this guy whose call sign is Mother Hubbard. He's in this like hubcap radio thing, and she's like, who is this guy? And he says, well, it's a really bad story. It starts in Florida. And then issue 7 starts with him narrating. And so it starts in Florida and whatever. And you hear them talking over these kind of, who could he be? And it starts with it being like, oh, it's one of those guys, I know you think it's one of those guys with the kids and the wife, and he goes out to a shed, and you see the kind of like tightly wound guy. Everyone says was so quiet and nice. He goes out to his shed and he opens the thing, and you see a secret door, and it's like, oh, it's going to be in there. And it's like the kind of guy who keeps all those weapons he uses to kill people in that thing and whatever. And he opens it, and then this axe cuts the guy in the head, and it's like, but he wasn't that guy. He was some, and it goes on. So it's just, I hope what people get from the series from me is it's a lot of fun to work on. And I really hope that people get that energy from us, that we're happy to be doing creator owned and doing it really unbound at Image in a fun way. And it's a great moment for indie comics all around. I'm really glad to be a part of it and proud to be a part of what Image is doing right now. So many great books. And, just I hope they pick it up and have fun. And I'm trying also, I want to do this. I'm doing this thing where I just started, where I'm doing little videos about writing craft. All my friends are like, don't give away secrets, give away too many secrets. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you do your teaching right, or you express it the right way, where you're really talking about the tools of writing, then what you're doing, you're not there. Everyone's like, Greg teases me too. Capullo, he's always like, oh, you're training your replacement. But my feeling is more like, if you teach right, you're doing the opposite, where people understand the tools to use them in such a way that they're expressing themselves in a singularly interesting, unique way that's theirs, which means they're not going to copy you. Because my goal, like tomorrow, I'm going to be talk a little bit about narration, different techniques in narration, and look at God Country, look at The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, which I just spoke to Ron V for the first time, friend to friend, just being like, asking him what, I've communicated with him a ton in terms of email and whatever, but I got to actually Zoom with him, and Donnie's an old friend. So it's fun getting to talk to people working in the creator-owned sphere and saying, hey, what if I use your book a little bit for a few minutes to talk about the brilliance of this thing you did? Like how narration is totally used in opposite ways in those books to really cool effects. And then, so I'm doing those. I'm going to post them on New Comic Book Day on, YouTube and Twitter and everywhere, Instagram and that stuff, and just keep them really short, but for fun, hopefully get to promote a lot of creator-owned work and just talk craft, get people excited about, the art of comic book writing.
Yeah, I love the approach where you are using your examples from indie work, as opposed to being like, well, here's a classic that or that like you've read from the big two, and let's break it down, because that's like kind of a very classic teacher style, because it's like it's a way to get everybody on the common footing. But it's like this is a cool place that is also not just teaching, and it's not just highlighting you, but it also is putting a signal boost on these creator-owned works and being like, yo, this is a viable, and not only that, but like genuinely good place to get your entertainment from.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some stuff, Monstrous, a bunch of other books, but also doing it in my shop is fun, because I miss them so much. Like I mean, Fourth World, it's in Smithtown, New York. It's such a good shop. It's second generation. Like the guy who owned it, the dad, Glenn, just retired and made his son parents the manager. So it's run by, and I've been, like I said, I've been going there since before I broke in. So that when we moved out to where we live now in Long Island, I grew up in the city. So I was really lonely and I got pretty depressed, honestly, out here, like real actual depressed. And like I just didn't know how to, I was so used to public space and other interaction. And I was working on a novel and all this kind of shit. I hadn't broken in yet. But my one like refuge was this comic store, and I would go and talk to Chris and talk to Bill and all these guys that still work there. And this is 15 years ago. Talked to Terrence and Glenn and his wife Chris, and they set up my first signing when I had like one comic out. And so going in there and getting to do it there and bring people to the store and also just get to be in the store after a year plus of not being able to really go there. It just feels good, So I don't even give a shit if it's like something that people really get into or watch that much or don't. I really hope they do, but I mean, it feels fun for me, so I enjoy doing it for that reason,
Yeah, it's like a Skillshare thing where it's like, hey, I got this craft, here you go, but also linking it directly with the comic books and having it in a nice backdrop of a great shop as well, which has been great. I also noticed what is it? You launched a TikTok. So let's
my kid, it was really funny. My kid just called me. He wrote, because I got a membership because he told me to follow. It was like, follow this one, that one. And I like signed in and I had nothing on there, but only followed, I realized, Arnold Schwarzenegger for like years. And he was like, Dad, my friends, like they found out you write comics, whatever. They looked on there and all you do is follow Arnold Schwarzenegger 2 years. So I was like, all right, I guess so. I went on and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but so I'll post things over there from, that I do for other things and just see how it goes. But I have like 300 followers now or something. Before I had like 5, and my son was elated though on how totally unpopular I was. Elsewhere, he was very gloaty. So now I have to take my revenge and
you have to beat him on TikTok.
That makes sense. On TikTok, I do somehow. Yes. Yes. No, but yeah, the video should be fun, and I'm excited, man. It's only about maybe a month away, probably a little more, from the first of a few really big announcements about projects that I'm doing through Best Jacket for myself and with a bunch of other creators I love. And we're going to announce when we're bringing witches back and all kinds of stuff. So it's a lot of fun things coming up. I'm doing something that I really believe in also, as another announcement about helping shine a spotlight on new creators a little bit. And just, I don't know, I'm trying to take a year and really become who I want to be in comics in that regard, as in a more rounded way, as opposed to just what I'm writing, So it's been an interesting year, being out of the grind of DC, where I think you could barely see 10 feet in front of your face half the time. Cause it's just like, how do I get this event through with these, the bosses don't want this, and this. And also, how do I convince the fans to like, or to at least give this a shot even though I know they might not want it, but we want it, but this and that. And how do I do, it was such a calculation of like how to make something you cared about and loved, and how to make it real with so many different obstacles, that suddenly being out of that and just being able to breathe and be like, well, what do I want to do now that I have more room and energy about, as this person in comics that I'm really lucky and privileged to have, the kind of grounding I have at this point, the platform, what do I want to do? So that's what I'm hoping, I'm excited. And, a lot of the creator on stuff is really cool too. Seeing so many things like Sweet Tooth and Why the Last Man now. And,
are you already planning the Noctera Netflix show?
Yeah, only. Well, I'm always like tempted to say more than I should with that stuff, but we do have really good offers right now for Noctera for TV. So it's more a matter of figuring out who's going to be the best partner and picking somebody out of the people that have thrown their hats in the ring, all of whom I really like. So we will have announcements about that in the next couple months, I imagine. But which is also, I finished the pilot for that. I'm really excited about that one. So we'll see. Hopefully it becomes something. I don't know. You never know. But it was a lot. I love the people we're working with, and it was a lot of fun. So
I got one last big question for you.
Yeah.
This may take up the last of our time. Otherwise, Sal can fill the gap. So You've come from all the way back to Batman Black Mirror, writing Dick Grayson. You've
Yes.
written Batman through New 52 all the way through. You did everything from your solo book to the giant event of DC Dark Knight's Metal to the big event, Death Metal, to now back to just doing what you want to do. What is the most fun you've had? Not the most relaxing, because I'm assuming your answer would easily be doing my own stuff.
Most fun.
Yeah, what is the most fun you've had with your crazy career in comics of going from Dick Grayson to Noctera?
Well, I can definitely say the first few years was the least fun, in the way that I was just lived in abject terror every minute of every day that I was going to get fired, and that I would never get the chance to do this again, because I thought I was like so underqualified to handle Batman, and there's so many people more qualified than me at that time that it's just like all I cared about was proving that I could write something I loved and was passionate about and proud of, and do good things with the creators I worked with. So those first years were hard. As much as I look back and I was like, God, it's such a formative, wonderful period getting to know Greg and Jock and everyone. That was hard. So I would have to say the most fun, American Vampire, which is out actually today, I just realized. 1976 number 9, the second to last issue of our whole series, is probably the most fun in that it's the most home. It's the easiest to write, and I know those guys back to front. But home, and the most fun, Death Metal, you know what it is? Like, the process of making that book real was probably the least fun, because it was so hard. There were so many obstacles in terms of DC being really volatile at the time, them changing what they wanted to do at the end, people getting fired, AT&T, like everything. It was like a storm, like an electric flying through an electrical storm. But making that book with Greg and the team, knowing it was going to be kind of our last big event, hurrah, was a lot of fun. That one was just like, you're just there for the encore, and you can't. I was more passionate about what it was all about. Comics, like that event, is literally about whatever happens to DC, whatever happens with the pandemic, whatever happens with stores, whatever. This is what we hope the spirit of comics will be going forward, about, honoring and respecting the past, respecting all fans, old, new, and taking some risks to push it forward to a new generation in cool ways. All that stuff is part of that. But it was like, you get to go out and rev the machine out and play with the people that you love being there with. So that was crazy fun. I would say that one. And being like, you get to make Batman with a scythe on a bat demon motorcycle, Superman, long hair. It was a blast. So I love that book, and I loved working on that. But the most relaxed is this, definitely now. And I'm getting to try things that I'm really excited about, where it's like, every book is kind of like doing that, or American Vampire without the obstacles. I'm doing a book with Greg. There's no secret there. So, it'll be fun. It's got that feeling, but it's cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, thanks again. Dude, I love coming on and talking to you guys. I miss you. I want to see you in person and have a drink and be like,
we're doing New York. I hope you're going to New York. That's the
first
one we're going back to.
I'm just myself now with Best Jacket. I'll be there for Image. And I'll be there. I'll be there to support DC. I'm still a part of that. But I'll come in just to have a drink with you guys, honestly, and hang out if you want.
If need be, I'll rent a car and drive through New York to get to Long Island if I need to.
I would love to have you guys out here. We go swimming. You could do a show in the pool. It'll be good.
That would be amazing. That would be probably like the highlight of like, what's the weirdest podcast location you ever did? Scott Snyder's pool.
Let's do it. I'm up for it.
All right, sounds good. Then you guys, everyone watching, you can look forward to that. But don't forget to go check out Noctera. Issue 4 came out last week. I don't know what issue 5 is coming out, but
issue 5 it's the final order is Monday, so order it now if you can.
Order it now, definitely now. All right, thanks for being out here, Scott.
Thanks, you guys. I really appreciate it. You got it.
All right, guys, there's the show. So we'll try to smooth transition this into an ending.
Yeah.
Don't forget to go check out our sponsor, G Fuel. Use the code comics at checkout to get 10 to 30% off, depending on when you're watching this video. You can also find Sal over at the Comic Pop channel. I'm over at Comic Storian. And if you want to keep this show going, you don't want it to end, consider going to either one of our Patreons, patreon.com/comic pop, where you can get early access to the show, patreon.com/comic story, where you can get early access to the show. And yes, you don't have to go to both of them. You can literally pick your favorite host and support them directly by going to the individual Patreons. You can also support us by using the code GFuel, the code comics at GFuel at checkout. And you can support us by checking out our new endeavor that we've combined with Dan and Dylan called Absolutely Marvel and DC. It's where all those show discussions and game discussions and movie discussions are ending up over there. We're even talking about some normal movies that aren't superhero related. I'm going to be watching Conjuring and Quiet Place 2. Sal, are you?
Oh, cool. I'll see A Quiet Place 2 someday.
Okay, well, when you do, in 3 years, we will review it.
Sounds good.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your continued support. We really do appreciate you being here for the live show, and we appreciate you guys watching this afterwards. We have a lot of fun doing the show, and it's through your support and financially and through your support just being here, because the show wouldn't exist if you didn't watch it, that we exist. So thank you guys so much, and we will see you at the next episode of Absolutely Comics. I know, I messed it up. Absolute Comics. See ya.